Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm working for SheRoom, the Korean handmade apparel brand. In this video, I'm excited to share with you how to make an Audrey Hepburn-inspired linen dress. For our first step, we'll dive into pattern making. This is a crucial part of the dressmaking process as it lays the foundation for your garment. Before we begin, let's gather the essential tools we'll need. Here are the tools you'll need for pattern making. Taking accurate measurement is key to ensuring a well-fitting dress. Make sure to measure yourself or your model carefully and write down each measurement. With our tools and measurements ready, we can start drafting the pattern. I already have a pattern that I created, so this time I'll simply copy it and adjust the size to fit my customer perfectly. So let's get started on this exciting journey of making an Audrey Hepburn-inspired linen dress. We'll begin by creating the bodice pattern, drawing out the front and back pieces, and then move on to the skirt. To copy the pattern, place your existing pattern onto the pattern paper and gently trace around it. Once I finished copying the pattern, I adjusted some lines to better fit my customer who has a straighter silhouette. After that, be sure to make the bust point line, as this will help with adding the notches later. Be sure to label your pattern pieces to avoid any confusion with other parts. Remember to include seam allowances and notches, as these are crucial for assembling the pieces later. I follow the same steps to create the pattern for the back side of the upper bodice. I usually leave a 2 cm seam allowance for the zipper at the center back of the upper bodice. Be sure to check the shoulder length of both front and back pieces of the upper bodice are properly aligned. Additionally, ensure that the side seam of the front and back pieces of the upper bodice are properly aligned. Regularly checking that pattern pieces are well aligned and matched is essential for achieving the perfect fit. After finalizing the patterns, I glued them onto the craft paper, adding seam allowances. I typically provide a 1 to 1.5 cm seam allowance for each pattern piece. This time, I also created a facing for the upper bodice to ensure a perfect neckline. We have patterns for the upper bodice, pockets, and a belt. You can skip the pockets and the belt if you prefer a simple design. With your pattern pieces ready, we'll be on our way to creating a beautiful, timeless dress. Now, prepare your favorite fabric and let's get started with the cutting. Place your pattern pieces on the fabric and carefully cut along the outlines using scissors or a rotary cutter. When you're done, don't forget to add the notches. Notches are essential because they help you align the fabric pieces accurately during sewing. They act as a reference points, ensuring that seams match up perfectly and that the garment pieces are assembled correctly. This results in a well-fitting, professional-looking finished product. Ensure that you have all the fabric pieces for each pattern before you begin sewing. However, if you prefer, you can skip the belt and pockets to keep things simple. For the skirt, I prepared a round skirt. When cutting the skirt, make sure the length is even and ensure that the waistline of the skirt matches perfectly with the upper bodice. I also prepare the pockets and the belt. However, you can skip these if you prefer a simpler sewing process and design. For the facing of the upper bodice, I added interfacing to help maintain the perfect neckline. I also added a 25 cm long interfacing along the zipper line at the back of the skirt and 15 cm long interfacing at each side seam to install the pockets. Stay tuned for the next steps and happy sewing! Let's begin by sewing the facing for the front upper bodice. Align each seam line and sew carefully. When aligning the seam lines, make small snips for better accuracy. Ensure that the curve is slightly rounded to accommodate the bust line for a proper fit. Let's sew the upper front bodice. And remember to double check that the notches align perfectly with the other pieces. Just like with the facing, make small snips along the curved lines before sewing for better accuracy. It is important to pin each fabric piece in place to prevent them from shifting before sewing. I recommend trimming all the loose threads as you go to prevent jamming in the sewing machine and to keep your dress looking neat and tidy. Fold the seams inward and press them with an iron. Now, let's finish the back side of the upper bodice. Just like the front side, ensure the notches and seam lines are properly aligned and sew them carefully. Once you finish sewing the upper back bodice, press the seams open and flat with an iron. I decided to install the pockets. If you choose to do the same, place the right side of the pocket against the right side of the skirt. Sew them together, starting 7.5 centimeters below the waistline, including the seam allowance. Ensure you have 2 pockets for the front of the skirt and 2 pockets for the back. Now, we will join the upper front bodice and the upper back bodice by sewing the shoulder seams. Before sewing, ensure that the shoulder seams are properly aligned. Remember to ensure that each piece of fabric is placed with the right side facing each other. After sewing the shoulder seams, press them open and flat with an iron. We also need to join the shoulder seams of the upper bodice facing. Next, we will attach the upper bodice facing to the upper bodice. As we did before, place the fabrics with the right side facing each other and ensure that the patterns or shapes align correctly. Properly aligning the shoulder seam lines is important. Next, pin the fabrics along the neckline to prevent any shifting during the sewing process. After sewing the neckline, trim the seam allowance where it is too thick to ensure a perfect square neckline in more comfortable shoulders. When trimming the seam allowance, be careful not to cut into the stitching line. Next, press the seam allowance toward the facing and iron it flat. Sew the facing and seam allowance together with a 0.2 cm top stitch. Fold the neckline neatly so the facing is not visible from the right side of the upper bodice, and press it with an iron for a crisp finish. Now, we will sew the armholes. Avoid sewing or closing the zipper line in the back at this stage. Place the fabrics with the right side facing each other and align the shoulder seam lines. Then, pin the fabrics along the neckline to prevent any shifting during the sewing process. Then sew it. After you finish sewing the armhole, trim the seam allowance where it is too thick for more comfortable shoulders and neckline. Be careful not to cut into the stitching line. Next, make small snips along the armhole and neckline to achieve a crisp finish. Be careful not to cut into the stitching line. Through the finished shoulder opening, pull the fabric to return it right side out. Let's repeat the same process on the other side. After that, we'll press it with an iron to ensure the facing is not visible from the right side of the upper bodice. Now, let's move on to the skirt. Place the skirt pieces with the right side facing each other, ensuring the side seams are aligned, and pin them in place. Then sew along the stitching line. If you're not adding pockets, you can use a straight stitch. We're almost ready to install the zipper. To do this, we need to close the skirt by sewing the back seams. Do you remember the interfacing we attached for the zipper? We'll start sewing from the point just below where the interfacing ends down to the skirt hem. Once you have finished sewing the skirt, press the seams open and flat with an iron. Now, we will connect the bodice and the skirt. When pinning them together, make sure to align the center of the skirt with the center of the bodice, as well as the zipper area and the side seams. Once pinned securely, sew them together to create the perfect breast. Once the bodice and skirt are connected, press the seam allowance downwards toward the skirt for a clean finish. Now it's time to install the zipper. Make sure to position the zipper pull so it'll be visible from the outside. Be careful not to attach the zipper in the wrong direction. Make sure the facing and the zipper are not stitched together. Be careful not to sew the zipper to the facing. I prefer to baste the zipper in the place because it provides greater accuracy compared to pinning, even though it takes a bit more time. Let's repeat the same process on the other side. The zipper is installed perfectly, and I'm very pleased with the result. Now, it's time to finish the facing. Take a closer look and follow along. First, focus on creating the overall shape by folding it. Next, hold the seam allowance of the zipper and the facing on the wrong side with your fingers. Make sure to use a firm grip. Carefully turn it inside out so the facing is on the outside, and then sew it in place while maintaining that shape. Let's repeat the same process on the other side. Remember to iron them for a perfect finishing touch. Now it's time to finish the hem of the skirt. Fold the hem up by about 1 centimeter and sew as close to edge as possible. Once you're done sewing, be sure to press it with an iron. Then, trim the remaining seam allowance. Be careful not to cut the stitching line while trimming. Next, fold the hem of the skirt again into a narrow fold and sew it as close to the edge as possible to prevent it from unraveling. Ta-da! We're finally done! I hope you enjoyed our video and had fun sewing. We have many lovely dresses in our atelier, and I can't wait to share them with you soon. Thank you for watching, and see you again.